Welcome back to First Edition. Quizzes have undeniably captured our collective imagination. From online BuzzFeed quizzes to pub trivia nights, quizzes have become a pervasive form of entertainment and self-discovery. But why do we have such an appetite for quizzes? Well, joining me now is Dr. Janine Hubbard with this week's Get Psyched with Dr. Janine. It's great to see you.
Well, it's nice to be back after having gone away and done a whole bunch of training and learning, and I've got a bunch of future topics that came out of that. I can't wait.
And tonight I've decided to ask you about quizzes.
Because let's have a little bit of fun.
Yes. So speaking of fun, why do we think these online quizzes are so much fun? Why do we get sucked into them whenever we see them?
Well, part of it, we generally know not to take our answers too seriously. Yes, in terms of what type of breakfast cereal might I be. But they're amazingly compelling because somehow we think we're gaining a better understanding about ourselves. And certainly it adds for some nice, fun social conversations. We've been having some before going on air. And there's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy there. So it's like, oh, look, I knew all these things about myself. I'm so clever. And in reality, you've just answered in a way that, you know, meets your expectations for things. So, you know what? It's a harmless, for the most part, kind of way to spend some time. And like I say, raise some good conversations. I wouldn't count on them to, you know, be giving you huge amounts of insight into your personality. Take them with a grain of salt, because we take of them what we're looking for, kind of like reading your horoscope. You're going to take the stuff that resonates with you and ignore the things that don't.
Are any of them based in science?
Not really.
So I'm not a Slytherin after all?
There's your good news, because what do you do if you're upset with the results?
I know.
Well, quite frankly, you take it again and pick different answers that will steer it the way you're looking for. No, I mean, in psychology, we have a long-standing history of things like personality inventories and questionnaires and symptom questionnaires. And again, there's a variety there in terms of what it may be accurate and reliable versus, you know, what's a bit of a screener versus what's kind of questionable. So there certainly are good measures out there. As we've talked about before about self-diagnosis from social media, if you are looking up symptoms or you are concerned about maybe a physical health issue or a mental health issue, take it with a huge grain of salt. Use it as a way to start a conversation with your healthcare provider or an appropriate clinician. Never self-diagnose based on something you found online, but maybe use it as a first step.
So don't get your partner to answer one of these quizzes and say, aha, I knew that about you.
Well, or at least clear your browsing history, because we were talking before about old school when you'd fill them in your magazines. And,
yes,
you know, is your partner a good match for you? And if you happen to answer all of them, actually, that was the fun of going to the hair salon and finding all the previously completed questionnaires from other people and then trying to, you know, interpret what was going on. So take it as a fun activity. Take it as something that, you know, can spark some social conversation. Don't read too much into it. And, you know, do go looking, and we're going to talk in a future segment about some actual online assessments that we're finding can be really valid, reliable, and useful clinical tools when used appropriately.
That's right, because I could talk about this forever, as I'm sure you could too, but we are out of time, so we will continue this somewhat next week. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks, Tony.